6:30, which is the due time to start. If you don't know who I am, my name's David Winter. As you can see on here, I'm the Vice President of England Schools Rugby Union. I'm going to be your host for the awards evening. Obviously, we're delighted to see many people here, award holders, previous award holders, old friends, members of committees, so we're delighted. I have explained the protocol. It is very flexible, so if you have to leave or you're popping in and out to see things, I quite understand. Again, the plan is that it's not going to take a huge amount of time. We don't want to hold you up, and some of you have been on a number of meetings all day. As a result of that, obviously, we're going to try and make sure we do the best by the award holders we can, but at the same time, we're not going to turn this into an elongated meeting. In a minute, Jeffrey is going to change the way we do things. Normally, Jeff would speak at the end of the meeting, but this time, because of the flexibility, it's going to be at the beginning, and he's also going to do a toast to the union at the beginning, which means that you are entitled to drink and smoke to your heart's content beyond that point. And then I'm going to go through the awards. Basically what will happen is I promised myself that I would speak absolutely maximum for no more than 3 minutes per person. And there'll be a brief opportunity for the award holders to say their thank yous. But as I say, we're not going to do life histories. It's really just to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to say their piece. So, Jeffrey, over to you.
Thank you very much, David. Well, it's with great pleasure that I welcome everyone to the awards evening. And as David's mentioned, there will be a toast shortly. So if you would like to toast with something appropriate to have, then now is the chance to make sure that it's available. Tonight, in extraordinary times, we're recognising and rewarding enormous contributions to the cause of rugby union football in English schools. As a matter of interest, 2023 will see Rugby School celebrating the bicentenary of the birth of the game. And this union has been honoured with an invitation to participate in their programme of events. Since that beginning, schools have remained central and vitally important establishments in which the game can flourish and develop. Generations of teachers have given selfless service to that process. So I congratulate in advance our award winners this evening and invite you all to think about friends and colleagues, present and past, and join me in a toast to the England Rugby Football Schools Union, the ERFSU.
ERFSU.
Cheers. I need to go better glass.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll hand you back to David, who with his nominations committee and our secretary, Mark Lowe, has done all the arrangements for this evening, for which we're very grateful.
Super, yes, and I do have to thank the nominations committee for their work, because they are the ones that make the decisions at the end of the day. Right, the way we're going to do this is we're going to do this by division, and we're starting with the North. Normally what happens is I would normally have all the CVs, and then I would spend a couple of days writing a piece that would normally go with the menu for the dinner. So although we're not having the dinner, I've still written a piece on each person. And believe me, it doesn't do justice to the CVs that I've had this year. The CVs of some of these individuals are incredible, and their commitment to England schools rugby and schools rugby in general is amazing. So I apologise if your 3-minute piece doesn't mention every single thing that you've done. Believe me, I've got that detail, and we're just so grateful. The first thing I need to say is I've changed my tie in honour of John Pearson, who's the first person we're going to be mentioning. This is my 50-year-old Madeley College PE tie. John is a Madeley College man, and we're pleased that we've got a couple of Madeley College men here. I'm afraid I was at a PGC. I wasn't a real Madeley College man like John and Simon Robson, who are coming up later. But I've got my tie on especially for you, John, and also have the same thing for Simon. So, John Pearson. Where do you start? This is a man, forget about everything to do with England schools rugby, has been an international referee, an author of a number of publications associated with PE, an advisor, and obviously has had a long career in teaching. So he's doing all of this, as well as his commitment to schools rugby. He goes back well before many of us were involved. He started with Kent, would you believe, in 1972, and for 14 years he was working with Kent schools and also London counties in the days when we had an under-19 team and an under-15 team. So he was a committee member, secretary, coach, selector at under-15 and under-19. He then went on to engage with London counties, and he was both a committee and selector of the under-19s. He then had a little break, but not really a break because he was busy doing all these other amazing things. And then in 2015-16 season, he took up the mantle of sorting out Durham. And believe me, John has sorted out Durham. He's now, with a number of other people's, basically turned Durham around, and it is now a very, very viable schools union. And I think the great thing that John has done is Durham is not blessed with having a lot of rugby playing schools. So John has had to work with the term that, what's the new term we now use for non-rugby playing schools and rugby schools that play very little rugby, Mark?
Developing schools?
Yeah, developing schools. His work with developing schools is just a credit to behold, and the work that they're now doing in Durham in supporting schools, particularly in that sort of area, is really, really wonderful. And so to you, John, you deserve all of the accolades you're going to get here. We're really grateful for everything that you've done, and congratulations in being a true servant to England schools rugby. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tremendous.
John, do you want to respond?
There is, John.
Oh, I've got to say, if you go back, DHWT taught me an awful lot. Mr. Bowers isn't there, but what I picked up in my apprenticeship with Kent served me well when I started again with Durham, with all the other bits that came in between. And my regards to Mr. Advantage, who I notice is here tonight.
Nice to see you, old friend.
But thank you very much for honouring me.
It's a pleasure, John, and thank you for everything you've done, and please carry on and keep supporting Durham, because we really need people like you to do this work. Super, thank you. One of the sad things about not having a formal dinner is that I don't have an opportunity to meet beforehand with some colleagues, but the next person we're moving on to is Roy Mackay. Now, Roy's CV is as long as your arm, and then it goes further down your leg. An incredible CV. This is a man who has devoted 40 years to working in schools rugby, 32 to Harrogate Grammar School. The letter that I got from his head teacher is remarkable. It is the most glowing report of an individual that I've ever seen, I think. And obviously everybody absolutely loves him at Harrogate Grammar and for everything he does. But as well as doing all of that at Harrogate Grammar, he's been for a long time servant of the Yorkshire School setup. He's been on the schools committee. He's been coach under 16s, under 18s, under 15s. He's been a county selector at under 18s, as well as a long-term committee member for that. He's coached Yorkshire State Schools, Yorkshire Schools, and he's assisted with England potential players in the North Division. Now, so I'm really looking forward to meeting Roy. Hopefully he'll come to the dinner next year. But if you just look at that CV and see, again, a servant to a school and then a CSU, you can see why he really deserves this award. So to Roy, we're delighted to give you this award, and thank you so much for everything you've done. We really appreciate it. Well done again. Roy, are you there? Would you like to respond?
Brilliant, Roy.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Right. Thank you very much for the award. I'm deeply honoured to have received it, never mind the nomination. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time coaching rugby, but I think the most important thing is to remember all the boys and girls that have made it possible. Without them, I wouldn't have had nearly as much fun. So without them, there is no game. And that's what I've really enjoyed the most. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. That's great. And that's a really, really good point. And I'm glad that's a takeaway from tonight, Roy. Thank you very much for that. Without the boys and girls, then we wouldn't be here. So that's great. Thank you very much, and all the best in the future as well.
Thank you.
We're now going to move on to the final person. Sorry, the second to last person we're going to mention now, and we're going to move to Hugo Corber, who's going to speak on behalf of the 3 individuals who have got the award in Cheshire. Unfortunately, none of them are going to be available tonight, but Hugo's going to speak about Phil and Brian, and then particularly sadly about Brendan, who unfortunately died last year. So Hugo, would you like to pass on? I'd like to pass on to Hugo, and he'll say his brief piece about these amazing 3 guys and all their work they've done for Cheshire schools.
Yeah, thank you very much, David. First of all, both Brian and Phil send their apologies. They can't be there, but they're extremely humbled and gracious to receive their awards. And I have to say, when I said to David, I was willing to speak about the 3 gentlemen, I thought, you know, and I was really looking forward to it. I have to say now, looking, I'm rather emotional and very humbled to be speaking about 3 outstanding gentlemen who've played such an important role in my development. And I can honestly say that they are the reason why I'm sat here talking about them and involved in the ERFSU. Brian David, as you know, some of you may, you know, he served as a colleague. He was served 5 years as the Cheshire ERFSU rep. And in 1980, he started rugby at Weaverham High School in Cheshire, with Brian being a very proud Welshman, introduced the game into mid-Cheshire. In 1986, he was a selector for the Cheshire 16 group. He then, since 1990, he served as the team manager for Central Cheshire, under 15s and under 16s. And then he, in 1994, himself and Ken Andrews started the under 15 CB program. And Brian is actually still, well, till last year was the team manager. 1995 to 98 was the Cheshire Schools chairman. In the 2000, he served as a North of England selector and vice chairman. And he is the current chairman of the Cheshire Schools. So he's still very much fully involved. And as you know, he's not backwards in coming forwards, and is always willing to speak his mind, which I've always seen as a real asset. Phil Crowley, some of you may be aware, was the head of PE at Wirral Grammar School. He retired in July 2019. He's the current Cheshire Schools CSU president. He was fully involved in the Cheshire Schools sides, coaching under 15s, under 16s and under 18s for many years. And he guided many Wirral Grammar School teams to the latter stages of national competitions and oversaw the burgeoning careers of many young rugby players. He was a real stalwart of the Cheshire Schools rugby circuit, and until he retired, really championed the cause of CSU and county rugby during the latter years. Unfortunately, as David alluded to, Brendan Bailey, he passed away this year due to an ongoing battle with cancer. And he was fully involved in the Wirral. He was a member of staff at Wirral Grammar School, and he was the West Cheshire under 15 coach and team manager. He was the Cheshire under 15 coach and lead coach. And then after coaching, he moved on to being the Cheshire 16s team manager. And I will never forget Bob Davis, who you may know, said, "Oh, you can come and help out with the under 15s." And I went up, and Brendan started me in my county sort of coaching career, and I will be forever grateful for the guidance that he gave me. But what will stick with me was Brendan received his award 2 weeks before he passed away. But he made the effort to ring me and to just say how grateful he was for the award and how much it meant to him. And that at that time in life, I can't, say how much it did mean to him and how much he appreciated getting this award at that stage. So I would like to send his gratitude to all of you and to the nomination. So unfortunately, none of the 3 recipients can be here tonight, but I would just like to say they are 3 outstanding gentlemen.
Brilliant. Thank you, Hubert. Hugo, rather. Sorry, Hubert. I do apologise. Thank you, Hugo.
David, worse, don't worry.
Yeah, just to make a point, I've got it. Just to say, all of these people so far are services to schools rugby. They're the that's the main thing. Was that the point you were going to make? Or did I miss something? Was someone else wanted to ask me something?
Yeah, it's Ken.
Yes, Ken.
Just to kind of support what Hugo has said about all 3 gentlemen. I've worked very, very closely with all 3 of them over many, many years, and they're outstanding people who have supported this wonderful game. It came to a shock that Brendan had died. Now, we compared notes about cancer over many, many years, and I was shocked to hear that unfortunately, it's come to this dreadful disease. But again, with Brian, David, and Phil Crowley, who was in the old days, it was Wirral Schools and not East Cheshire, sorry, West Cheshire. And I just want to kind of endorse everything that Hugo said about these wonderful gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very, very good, and I really appreciate that, Ken. And as I say, just so you know, I did, on behalf of England Schools, speak to Brendan's widow, and she was really, really delighted that we contacted her, but also that he was going to receive his award. So that's brilliant. As I say, most important thing so far is to say that all of these people have got the Services to Schools Rugby Award, which is the second highest honour that we can bestow on individuals. The final person we're going to talk about in the north is Chris Davey, and Chris Davies has been awarded the life membership of England Schools Rugby, and under these circumstances we normally ask someone that he would like to do the citation. So in this case he's asked John Pearson to do the citation for him, so I'm going to pass over to John now.
Chris Davies has been involved with schools rugby for 51 years. His work and involvement with schools rugby has never diminished, and his experienced presence is constantly there to provide encouragement, perceptive insights and advice to younger and much less experienced colleagues. Equally, the role as the Northumberland representative on the Northern Group Schools Committee has drawn plaudits with regard to his ideas and opinions, which are almost thoughtfully and sincerely expressed. In terms of school-specific activity, from 2006 onwards, whilst also serving as the Northumberland Schools representative to the ERFSU, he also served as the Northumberland Age Grade Disciplinary Secretary, and in 2008 he moved on to carry out this role for the ERFSU. In both of the roles, his knowledge of the game, its laws, the different forms of educational establishments and backgrounds which pupils come from, the significant role of the head of school, and the exercising of common sense in an approach to those requiring his advice and guidance have undoubtedly served the ERFSU well. In addition, he has served on the competitions, rugby development, governance committees of the ERFSU. And in 2014, he was elected to the RFSU executive and has represented the ideas expressed by those in the North honestly and frankly. In simple terms, he can quite rightly be described as a mover and shaker as far as the development of the game of rugby is concerned. And I hope what I've expressed there encapsulates the individual that is receiving the award.
Thank you very much, John. That's brilliant. And as I say, Chris, everything that John said just says everything about you, really. And again, this is the highest honour that England Schools can bestow on you, and you deserve it in every single way. So congratulations. Would you like to respond, Chris?
Thank you. For me, briefly, I was also a history teacher, by the way. Can I thank John for his generous words, and also thank my family who've supported me throughout my lifetime of rugby. Briefly for me, and it is briefly, I started getting involved in rugby 1959 at Bilborough Grammar School in Nottingham. I played for Notts, Links and Derby, and then the three counties, then the East Midlands, under 15 and under 18, under 19 as it was then. I understand now that there's no rugby at Bilborough, and at many of the middle tier schools that existed in that area that we used to play, and that worries me. I'll come back to that but briefly. I joined a local club, Ilkeston, and that club had its own facilities, which was rare in those days, and they are evolving and are prospering in the situation it is now. I then moved up to the northeast. I was looking for a job. I'd done 4 years at Loughborough, played for Ilkeston, played for Loughborough, only for the second team. And then I started at Hexham, Queen Elizabeth, and played for Tyndale, then moved down to the coast here. It's a marvellous place, Northumberland, by the way, and played for Percy Park and a couple of games for Northumberland itself. I started immediately because I was young and energetic, and at 51 years now with Northumberland CSU in all kinds of roles. And now they consider me what they call the yogi of the whole thing, as the person to go to advise, but let them make the decisions. Also, I've nearly 50 years with the CB, and it's that close liaison, which I think is the way forward. They can call it the alignment project or whatever, but I think it really is necessary for the partners in rugby to work together to the benefit of the whole, not just the clubs, not just the schools, but us to respect each other and work appropriately together. Many, many friendships I've made. Rugby union is evolving. It's a great game with many supportive people and structures. I hope the ERFSU and the RFU policies in the future respond to the changes that have occurred. You can't take them back. We have to go forward in both society and education and go for local implementation. People probably get very fed up with me saying this, but I do really believe you come out with national policies and enable the local people to implement them to the conditions that the national organisations come out with. And thank you again to John for his kind words, and for everybody here for having put up with me for 50 years. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Well done. 50 years.
That concludes the north. We're now going to move on to the southwest. It's a relatively short list, but two really important people. I'm hoping Tony Strickland is here, and I know Steve Shortland's here as well, so that's good news. You probably know, if you've heard me speak before, how keen I am on the VIP award, and I've inherited that keenness from Ken Andrews. He and I both see the importance of the VIP award, and every year we encourage people to be nominated for it. If you don't know, the VIP award is given to those individuals who basically do the job at their school. Very often they're not the PE teachers. Very often they're the unsung heroes of their schools, and many of them have incredible longevity in terms of the time and commitment they're going to, or they've given. I'm just going to read you this very short piece about the next guy, Tony Strickland from South Molton College in Devon. Jeff will be pleased to see that. And this is what was written about him. He is way past retirement age, 72, I believe, but is bursting with energy. He is a PE teaching assistant at the school. This is at 72, remember, but his biggest love is rugby. He runs all of the school teams, both boys and girls, giving up his own time unpaid to run after school sessions and fixtures. It is because of his work at the school that the local rugby club has a thriving girls section. He is also happy to host or attend local rugby festivals and has an amazing rapport with all the students who absolutely adore him. As well as his coaching and teaching, he raises funds for rugby equipment for his school by running the RFU draw every year. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I would like to have a CV that had that on it. And I know that Ken would be the same as me. To have a CV that says something like that is pretty impressive. And I don't know whether Tony is here. Is Tony here? Any sign of Tony?
Can't see him, David.
All right. Sadly, he's not, but I think we need to make sure, if he could hear us, that he gets a really nice round of applause. And as I say, we really appreciate his work. I will write to him personally, and obviously he'll be able to see the video as well that we've made of this. But again, congratulations, Tony, for everything you've done. The Southwest has been fairly light on awards this year. We have one more to give. This is a life membership award, and this is to another of the under-16, the old under-16 delivery team. And in this case, it's Steve Shortland. And again, because they are getting the life award, they're entitled to ask somebody to do their citation. And in this case, he's asked his old chum, Andy Marriott, to do that. So Andy, over to you.
Thank you. And the nomination for the tallest England under-16 coaches, he wanted me to say best looking as well, but I couldn't quite go that far. Seriously, I'm delighted that Steve is receiving this award and feel it's fully deserved for all he's done for the school's game as a whole, and in particular, coaching of England under-16s. He's been an integral part of the school's rugby and has always set the highest standards. The fact that most of his coaching has taken place at Millfield and Wellington says it all. Steve has always been at the sharp end, setting the kind of standards others always try to emulate. There was always a buzz about your players when they were taking on one of his very impressive sides. Steve's coaching at schools, at county, divisional and at national level has been technical and well delivered. He is fundamentally a team man first and foremost, and his varying players recognise this fully. For England under-16s, he always made sure how proud the boys should be to wear the rose, and this was always reflected in their performances. His coaching was inclusive. He ensured all his team of coaches, selectors and team leaders were free to fully contribute to the cause. His approachability, and dare I say charm, ensures all that came into contact with Steve always wanted to give of their best. One of my best memories of Steve is at the Knoll Neath, when England under-16 had just beaten Wales fairly comfortably. The England group then had to walk through the clubhouse to reach the reception room when they were roundly booed by all the Welsh locals. I remember Steve grinning at a job well done, and of course the hostile locals were soon won over by England's gentle giant. I was also fortunate enough to coach in Malaysia with Steve, which was extremely enjoyable. But my post-traumatic stress after applying AfterSun to his back is now fully under control. Steve is a top coach, he's a top man, and he's very deserving of this top award. It only remains for me really to wish Pamela and him all the best for their wedding next Saturday. Very well done, Steve.
Steve.
Andy, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andy. Thank you for the kind words. And it's so good seeing you stringing sentences together. Honestly, you've been a great mate all the way through. And I'm looking around this online room at the moment, and there's lots of good friends on there. Lots of people that were with me at the very start of my journey. I see Keith G's on there. I remember Keith getting me involved in the Southwest under-18s. I remember them moving to the 16s. The whole thing's just been a remarkable experience, an incredibly enjoyable experience. The thing for me, developing players, well, yeah, developing people. I think one of the great things we did within the schools union, the 16 group, is we produced better characters as well as better players and better people overall. And it's great to walk around rugby grounds now. Well, used to be, now we're going back into it, but and just meet those guys and say hello and see the appreciation of the team effort that went behind them. I will always say that I've had the pleasure of working in some amazing environments. The 16 group experience is still the best team of people I've ever worked with. Just an absolute cracking bunch. And I think in the heart of that and what made it so good is their positive and genuine intentions to help people progress through the game and through life. And I think that's something I will always remember. And as I say, still the best team I've ever worked with. I'm thrilled to get this award. Pretty humbled by some of the other candidates and people that are also receiving awards tonight. It just shows the strength of this organisation, and long may it continue. And thank you all for thinking of me with regards to this award. And I hope you all stay safe and hopefully see you pitch side very, very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Brilliant. Thank you very much, Steve. And thank you, Andy, for that lovely citation as well. We now move on to London. And again, one of the sad things about the COVID situation is that I haven't had a chance to meet this gentleman. the first person getting the services award is Karen Evans. And again, when I read his CV, it's just an incredible career in supporting schools rugby, dating back to 1983, where he initially worked at Hull Grammar and was immediately involved with schools rugby, coaching the East Yorkshire under-18s. He then moved on to Latimer Upper and then eventually later to Merchant Taylors, and straight away not only coaching the senior sides there, but also engagement with Middlesex under-16s and Middlesex schools rather, which included involving coaching, managing the under-18s. He's been a long-time servant of the Middlesex CSU for 34 years, and currently he's the school's disciplinary officer, and he's still counting those years. Plus, of course, he did 3 years with the Yorkshire CSU committee. In addition to all of that with the CSU, between 1986 and 1997, he was involved with London as both a coach and selector. So here we have another person with an illustrious career and engagement with schools rugby for over 40 years. He served Hull Grammar, Latimer Upper and Merchant Taylors as a schoolmaster. At the same time, he's been with Yorkshire and Middlesex for all this time. So Karen, I'm looking forward to meeting you, but all I can say is congratulations on what you've done, and thank you on behalf of everybody here for your services to schools rugby. Karen, well done.
Well, many thanks, David, to you and your committee. Having heard the CVs of others, I feel very humble, and it's lovely to see Nigel Orton, who I worked with many years ago. Yes, thank you very much, everybody, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Karen. The second person in London I need to move on to is Penny Craig. Unfortunately, she can't be here for the right reasons. She's got family things tonight. It's nothing to do with the football. But Penny joins two other people who, although they are paid officials of the RFU, because of their particular things that they've done, they genuinely deserve services to schools rugby. And at the moment, we have Diane Aldis and Eliza Blackborough, who have the award of services, and Penny now joins that group. I just want to say about her, she is a complete professional, a brilliant organizer. She's absolutely fantastic with the boys, and also those of you who've worked with Penny will know she's fantastic with the parents. Now, those of you who've worked with England schools delivery will know that one of the most difficult situations is with 16s and 18s is working with the parents. Sometimes the parents have, let's say, issues about one thing and another, and Penny has always been the one that can manage the parents very well. But also the beauty of Penny is that she manages teachers very well as well, and that's obviously quite important too. Nothing is too much trouble. She's got an incredible eye for detail, and we talk about this in management suite. She's a proper starter finisher, and you know, if she gets a job, if she's given a job, she gets it done. It's been nothing but brilliant, and I spoke to Andy Marriott this week. We were just sort of touching base about a number of things, and he wanted me to mention her work, particularly with England under-16s. Basically, they feel that without her, all of the trials, Millfield, Wellington and the internationals could not have happened. She's been an absolutely integral part of this, and it's shown by the fact now that she's been working with the senior team as well. Just illustrates how highly she's valued. She's going to be watching the video, but she deserves everything we say about her. To Penny, thank you so much for everything you've done, and I know everybody who has worked with her will know how important she's been to us and the union, and so therefore she thoroughly deserves this services award. So Penny, thank you very much. I'm now moving on to the Midlands, the last group. For some reason, it's nothing to do with me, but the Midlands have a huge number of people this year. So we're going to finish. It'll probably take about 20 minutes to do the whole of the Midlands, but we've got them here now. Another wonderful person, I'm not sure whether he's here, I hope he is, another of our VIP awards. And this guy is called Ian Thorpe. And again, I'll read this. He was Nottingham High School. So he's just retired as a teacher. He was the D teacher by profession. He spent over 40 years of his personal time supporting rugby programs in schools he has taught at. The schools he has worked at, he's not only run school programs, but he's made himself available for Saturday matches. This required Ian on his day off to travel an hour each way from home, to hop on a coach for a couple of hours to play a match and come home, therefore taking up his whole Saturday. He's repeatedly turned up. He very rarely misses a fixture, and he absolutely loves working with the boys. And again, the staff at Nottingham High just have such a high regard for him and everything he does. And it's exactly what you want from a VIP. And again, I know Ken understands this very well. These are the individuals who aren't necessarily the PE teachers, who are not looking for anything in terms of gratification, who just do the job because they're there to do it and love doing it. So Ian, congratulations. Is he here? I hope he is.
I am, yes. Yeah, I'm up here.
Sadly not.
Ian Fraser. Oh, right. Am I not on?
Oh, thank you, Ian. Great, good. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Well,
do you want to respond?
Very, very briefly, because I know everybody's thinking that maybe there's a big England match coming up. Not quite in the rugby. But I would love to say, number one, a thank you to Clem Lee, to James Hamilton, and to Stuart Whitehead, the three coaches that I worked with at Nottingham High School, which was such a privilege to be able to work with people of such a fantastic standard. My biggest thing was getting to know children outside of the classroom, and the way to do that was through rugby. I was very privileged to have 3 tours. Very privileged to work with a group of students whose photos I've got sat next to me right now, who played at such a high standard in what we called the Warwick Group schools. And when I looked at when I look at what we achieved, and when I look at what's happening in Nottinghamshire where we were based, I was really a bit disappointed in a way with what's happened to the schools in Nottinghamshire. And I hope that in the future that the rugby will turn around in those schools. And so I am, having sat here listening to what's just been said, some of the people that you've just had on have incredible CVs and skills. And I'd just like to say, I really wish I was in the same league as they are, because they have done some incredible thing for English schools rugby. And I hope that that continues in all schools, and that we can put the message out there and say, you know, rugby is a fantastic game, and long may it continue. So that's my message, basically. I hope you could all hear me. And thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Okay.
Never think that we don't think that you have done as much as anybody else. As I say, the VIP Volunteer Award is something very special, and we need people like you doing the work behind the people like Clem Lee, who you've talked about. We absolutely need you there. So thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you.
Gary Sheridan, again, I'd love to meet Gary. I know he's on the call. The best way I've described Gary is as a multi-talented volunteer. Just an incredible amount of work for Worcestershire and North Mids, and he's been doing this since 2006. And for the last 15 years, Gary has played a key role in supporting not just work in his own school, but also in Worcestershire, and as well, obviously, they have the additional thing of North Midlands combined. His role spans all aspects of the CSE work, and he's become a linchpin. And I think that's the only way to describe it. When I talk to other people about Gary, this is a man that actually keeps things going, and he is genuinely a linchpin. And to be said to be a linchpin by others and your peers is really important. He's been involved in coaching, in selecting, in management, in secretarial work, in treasury work. In fact, nothing. Another one of his colleagues said that if you ask him to do something, he gets it done. Another starter finisher. And believe me, we need starter finishers, and that's obviously key, as well as obviously having a full-time teaching job as well. As I say, there's nothing that he won't do. And again, the great thing about Gary is that he's moving through into the new era of what youth rugby is looking like. He's fully engaged with that as well, and he's taking all those things on board. So to Gary, thank you for everything you do, and again, thoroughly deserving of the Services to School Award. Gary, well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've grown up in state schools, and I got my opportunity playing rugby through state schools. It was something that I'd never even considered, but an inspirational person came along and I say cajoled me into playing. And it didn't take long for me to absolutely love the game. And then once I'd left school, you know, you think about the people of your past and people that have influenced you, and he was one of those. And I thought, actually, I want to be able to have an influence on, you know, up and coming rugby players. I want to be able to work in an environment where, and again, in a state school where people don't normally get those opportunities, because unfortunately, state schools are struggling to get rugby fixtures together. And, you know, I wanted to make a difference, and I feel like, you know, I owe it to them. I had that opportunity, and, you know, I needed to give it to them as well. So that's sort of, you know, my main reason for doing what I do. And, you know, I love it. So, no, thank you very much for the award. I do appreciate it. And yeah, let's keep going with it.
Absolutely. Keep going, Gary. That's the most important thing. Brilliant. Well done. Mike Sampson, another one of our, he doesn't mind me saying this, long-standing people, 40 years plus of continuous commitment to schools rugby. And again, Mike, he's basically working for two people in terms of volunteering, not just his work with schools, but he has to work for Shropshire, and it's also the association with North Midlands. Mike Sampson, another CV as long as your arm and longer. He has done everything in the last 40 years, coaching, selecting, management, you name it, he's done it. We then take on to the next stage with the Midlands, coaching, management, selection, secretarial work, treasury work, everything you can imagine, every form of committee, everything that you could imagine has done. And again, he continues to do this with his chairmanship of various organisations. I have to say about Mike that I worked with him closely when we were involved with the Midlands 18 group, and he is an outstanding selector. Now, we had some very, very strong characters, and I can mention one of them, Keith McGawley, who did not take kindly to anybody suggesting that he was wrong about any selection. And Mike knew his business, and he stood by what he believed. And in the case of Shropshire, very often, unfortunately, Shropshire didn't often produce very large numbers of players. But when Shropshire had a good one, then Mike knew it. He could recognise who were the good ones, and you had to listen to him. And sometimes it's the quiet selectors who can recognise these things that turn out to be the best. And in Mike's case, I always listen to Mike, and I think it was good that we did, because we produced some great players as a result of it. A fantastic commitment to his school, to Shropshire, and again to the Midlands. Mike, 40 years of incredible work for schools. We'd just like to thank you, and thoroughly deserving of the Services to School Award. Mike, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, David, and your committee. There are a few faces on here I recognise, and it's nice to see that they're still alive, you being one of them. I mean, first thing I'd say is it's all been a lot of fun, and I'm sure we all do it because we enjoy it. I didn't realise how much I enjoyed it. I was talking to my wife and a friend a few years ago. Unfortunately, my wife's now deceased. Before she said, "You're always off at rugby meetings," and I used to say, "Oh, it's only 7 or 8 a year." So she made me count them up, and I think it was in excess of 25. But anyway, despite that, I had the support of my family, and I guess we've all had that, and we're grateful for it. We've had the support of the young people. We've all done very many things. I am now, I mean, I've been, as you mentioned, I've been a coach, selector, And now I believe it was Will Carling, wasn't it? I assume lovingly described me, well, described us as blazered fools. And so I've now graduated to the level of blazered fool. But I hope I can still offer something. I do chair a few things. I try to be enthusiastic, even though it's a long way from North Shropshire to pretty much anywhere. But it's been great, and I've met some great people and great kids, and I'm very grateful indeed for this award. So thank you very much indeed.
Well done, Mike. We continue with the Midlands, still more to go. We now need to mention Ray Evans, and I don't know what we say here, but this is a person who's just done everything for Shropshire Schools Rugby, for North Midlands. She is, again, a bit like Penny. Work. She's incredible commitment, running a CSU in very, very difficult times. And she's been doing this for 20 years with just amazing vim and vigor. She's a totally dedicated volunteer. That's the only way to describe this. And again, without people like Ray, without people like Penny doing this work, then things wouldn't happen. And I know that Mike would say, and I know that Gary would say, Ray has made sure that Shropshire continues, and Ray has made sure that the North Mids continues. And without her work, as I say, these things would not happen. These quiet people doing things behind the scenes is why it's important that they're recognised. And I was delighted when the Midlands asked me to, or did nominate Ray Evans. And to Ray, we're so grateful for everything you've done, and thank you. And it's lovely to see that you're being recognised in terms of services to schools rugby. So Ray, congratulations.
Thank you very much, David, and your committee. I'll be very brief. It has been an absolute pleasure. There's been some very cold and wet evenings on touchlines, but that hasn't dimmed the enjoyment. I've met some great people, some very passionate, committed people, and they've inspired me, and they've increased my enjoyment, and I am very honoured by your award. Thank you very much indeed.
Brilliant, thank you. Thank you, Ray. No bias here. I'm now moving on to two Warwickshire men, and two Warwickshire men that thoroughly deserve an award. We first move on to John Collins, who again we're nominating, or awarding rather, for the services to schools. John's been an active member of my county's CSU committee for over 30 years. As a school teacher, he's been the driving force behind schools rugby in the Nuneaton district since 1990. And I do mean the driving force. He's served as secretary, treasurer, coach, team manager, of the under 14, under 16 district set up, and he continues to be the secretary and treasurer today. Nuneaton's not an easy area to work in. This is the most deprived part of Warwickshire. It has no big independent schools. The children, many of them come from difficult backgrounds, and keeping rugby going there has been a real challenge. But John has done it with a smile and with a determination, and Nuneaton have produced some fantastic players. As well as his work in the district, he's a key person in terms of our CSU. And again, every job that you can imagine has been done by John with never a question. Chair of selectors, team management, secretary, and now he's still our county schools treasurer. And again, he does these things with aplomb. His commitment has been ceaseless. He is a true teacher volunteer, and he's done this in a quiet and unassuming way. And again, it's wonderful to have somebody like that who you can totally rely on, who does things purely because it's the right thing to do. He's a highly valued member of our management team, and for that, he thoroughly deserves the Services to School Award. So, John, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Thank you. Yes, I'm here. Thank you for the kind words. I would like to just appeal really to people to do two things if they have any chance to. One is to try and get as many rugby people on governing bodies as we can. And secondly, to try and get Ofsted to recognise rugby as being a vital part of the curriculum. If we can all push for that sort of thing, we might see schools rugby back where it used to be. Thank you very much for the award, and thank you for your kind words, David.
It's a pleasure. Well done. Congratulations. I'm now moving on to somebody that many of you know very well indeed, Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes, for some of the older members here, is a very well-known character. And the one thing that we can say about Steve Wilkes is that he is also a person who achieved international honours as a schoolboy at both 15s and 19s. And obviously he was a very well-known player as well as anything else, but his work for schools rugby has been incredible. He's worked continually for Coventry Schools Rugby since 1980. He's been on the committee there for as long as I can remember. He's done all sorts of jobs in the game in a totally unassuming way. He works tirelessly to support boys and their efforts in rugby. In terms of Warwickshire, he's been involved with us since 1983 as a selector, coach and committee member. And during the 90s, he was involved with Midland Schools as a coach and selector. Again, Steve invented the selection of props. He knew exactly what props looked like when they were 15 years old, and he was able to tell you exactly who were the best players when they were 15. He was a brilliant selector, and he probably didn't get the credit he deserved for that. But a wonderful commitment to rugby, a wonderful commitment to schools rugby, and Steve thoroughly deserving of the Services to Schools Rugby Award. So congratulations, Steve.
Thank you, David. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I'd like to thank you, David, for nominating me for this honour. I feel very privileged, and also to the England Schools Rugby Union Committee. Thanks to you all. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of the teachers who worked with me when I was a child, and all the teachers who've worked with me through my coaching and teaching career. I'd particularly like to thank all the people who've worked for Coventry Schools and Warwickshire Schools over the time. I'd just like to say Coventry Schools are still operating. We're fighting fighting the enemy. I don't know who the enemy is exactly, but we are fighting it. And we hope, in fact, to be running some representative teams before too long without the interference of the mercenaries, the insects from down the road, the wasps I refer to, but we'll see. We also keep going with cup competitions. We're looking to expand, would you believe, so that we provide competitive rugby for boys and girls in the city of Coventry. The last thing I'd like to say, having got this opportunity, is I need to point out to everybody listening that State Schools Rugby provides rugby for children who are not privileged, for the children whose parents don't pay for them to go to rugby clubs, who can't turn up every Sunday and pay their dues in that way. Lots and lots of children in state schools are not getting the opportunity to play. John has alluded to that in his way, and other people, was it Gary earlier, said something about it. We need to get state schools rugby off the ground. Comprehensive schools need to play the game. Children at those schools need to play the game. And sadly, one of the opportunities they had to play was through representative rugby at schools level, and that is now denied them. And I suspect England rugby in the fullness of time will rue the day. However, thanks to everyone. It's been a great privilege. I've been very excited to take part in this meeting, but I am looking forward to that meal next year, I have to tell you. Thanks to everybody.
We're looking forward to seeing you as well, Steve. Thank you very much. Great. I'm now moving on. Hoping Paul Calland is here. Is Paul still with us? Is Paul still with us?
Yes,
Paul
hi
Calland?
David. Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, great. That's great news. Good, good. Again, Leicestershire this time, so Brian will be absolutely delighted to see a Leicestershire person involved. Again, Paul's CV is an incredible commitment to schools rugby. 20 years with Leicestershire and the CSU committee. Again, every job that you can imagine, but particularly in relation to selecting and coaching. Paul is known as an outstanding coach, and Leicestershire were very lucky to have him. This is at 16 group in particular, but also he's worked with the 18s as well. Full-on committee member, again, doing everything that's required. He's also had a number of years involvement with divisional, with the Midlands 16 group, and again, an outstanding backs coach with the Midlands, and that led him to being involved nationally with the under-16s as a backs coach. And again, Paul has suffered a little bit because this was the time when we were transitioning and the under-16s was changing, and we were no longer delivering under-16 rugby in the same way that we used to. But the great news about Paul is he's continued his commitment, and rather than just saying, well, I've had my day, he's carried on, and since then he's returned, and he's now returned to coach at CSU level with the under-16s, and that's obviously been engaged through the academy. But Paul, again, I read your CV, and it's just somebody who's devoted 20 years of his life to schools rugby in an unfailing sort of way, and it's just incredible to read what you've done, and we really do need to see that this is fantastic, and congratulations again on getting the services to schools rugby. This is terrific. Thank you, Paul, and congratulations.
Thank you, David. Hi, everybody. Great to see a few familiar faces. I arrived on the call thinking that 20 years was a reasonable length of service, but I now realise I've got a few more decades to become a fully qualified blazered fool. So I'll look forward to that. But yeah, I've had a great time. I've got a good timeline reminder for when I started representative coaching, because in my first Leicestershire under-16s county side, Dan Cole was a free-running, mobile, ball-carrying number 8, and now in his mid-30s, perhaps less so. But I've thoroughly enjoyed progressing up from the county to the Midlands, and working with some fantastic players, some great coaches. Working with Shorty and Penny, who we've already mentioned. It has been fantastic. It is a shame, I think, that the 16s group dissolved. You know, having worked a little bit with the academy system now, I saw firsthand the benefit and value of the 16 group rugby, schools rugby that we had. And it is, in my opinion, still a shame that doesn't exist. But nevertheless, you know, I look forward to carrying on and continuing coaching and working with great people and enjoying the game. So an honour and a privilege. Thank you for the award, and I look forward to seeing some of you again in the future and contributing to schools rugby. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul, and we hope that we can talk some more about this at the dinner next year, which will be really good, I hope. Super. Right, we now move on to the final group of people. We're moving on to the Staffordshire Mafia, who've organised themselves at Stafford Rugby Club. So hopefully they can hear us, and they'll be ready to talk in a little while. Again, the first of the 3 awards that we're going to be talking about goes to Mike Redfern. This is a Services to Schools Rugby Award, and again, you just can't compare. Again, I looked at Mike's CV, and it is just incredible. This man has been working since 1973 for Staffordshire Schools Rugby in a totally unstinting way. He's done everything and more, whether it be selecting treasurer, manager, secretary, county secretaries, Midlands activities, again, right across the board. And every year he has been involved. There isn't a year since 1973 that he hasn't done something either for for Staffordshire or for the Midlands. So he's been working since 1973, and his particular work has been with the under-16s, but he's taken on all sorts of roles as well. Mike's commitment indicates a life in rugby, and that's the only way to describe it. When you've been working since 1973, that is a life in rugby, but it is a life in rugby, committing himself to schools rugby in particular. And Staffordshire should be eternally grateful. We're eternally grateful. Midlands Rugby is eternally grateful, and England Schools Rugby are eternally grateful, Mike. And that's why you're thoroughly deserving of the Services to Schools Rugby Award. So, Mike, congratulations. Mike, can you hear me? Staffordshire. This is where it hopefully works.
If you do something for nearly 50 years, you've got to enjoy it. Either that or you're a bit of a masochist. I've thoroughly enjoyed every year I spent working for Staffordshire schools. I've met some wonderful people. I've had a lot of laughs on the way. It's been great to see some of the lads, the boys we've coached at under 16 move up through the age groups into international players from a relatively small county like Staffordshire. And it's been because there are a lot of people like myself and others who are committed to helping Staffordshire schools and the lads in there to achieve these levels of performance. Thank you all to everyone who's been involved in this nomination, and I'm very proud to receive this award this evening. Thank you.
Super. Great. Thank you very much. Well done. Well done. We now move on to another person from Staffordshire, and this time it's Keith Richards. And again, a similar situation. Ian, I don't know where you get these people from, but we've got incredible commitment here. This is Keith from 1994, a total of 36 years of teaching PE, running county teams for over 15 years, total involvement with the Staffordshire Schools committee. And again, just doing everything that the schools committee wanted him to do. He's a proper Staffordshire man, and again, rather like Mike, he's devoted himself to schools rugby, to county rugby in every single way. A true teacher volunteer, and again, a thoroughly deserving person to receive the Services to Schools Rugby Award. So, Keith, well done. Have we got him?
Yeah. Just to say, I've loved my job at teaching for 36 years. I just loved taking kids forward in rugby. I coached quality kids when I got to county level. And it's just a real pleasure. And I'm just really pleased with this award. I feel really honoured. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Well done. Well done. The final of the services one that we need to mention now is Simon Robson. And again, hopefully Simon can see my tie, because Simon's the other Madeley man that's being done today. Simon came after me, but I've got my tie on to show solidarity with the Madeley people. Simon is, again, exactly the same. I look at his CV and you just see somebody who has devoted 30 plus years of his time to his school, coaching at his school, and then everything he's done for Staffordshire. If you just look, coaching at every level from under 15, under 14 upwards for the county, organising under 15 cups, organising all sorts of sevens tournaments, and again, being on the committee, working with the committee, at all times, basically. And again, every year since he started work in Staffordshire as a teacher, he's been involved with the CSU. An incredible commitment, a really highly talented coach, and Staffordshire have been very lucky to have him during that time. As I say, 30 years of commitment to his school in his county. He's a Madeley man. I'm also a WASP season ticket holder, Simon, so I'm delighted to give you this award, and congratulations on your services to schools rugby, thoroughly deserved. Simon.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see some familiar faces. Just very quickly, because I know we're running out of time, I'm very honoured, obviously, to receive this award. Staffordshire, I went to Madeley College in 1979, and I've stayed in basically Stoke-on-Trent and Newcastle ever since. A little bit of a backwater county, and I'm proud of the fact that we have managed to produce some fantastic players. But it's not just about the really good players, it's about coaching everybody. I still get a massive kick. Coaching's my thing. I get a massive kick out of coaching club sides, out of just juniors, anybody that really needs a good session. I'm really happy to do it. I think it's obviously in the blood. I don't want to get political about Eddie Jones and what's in commentary or anything like that, Steve. Just like thanks to everybody. We've got some really great people in Staffordshire, and we need to get some new blood into Staffordshire, because somebody mentioned we've got 162 years of service between 4 of us, and that's not including Robin, who's probably another 50 years at least. So we've got a lot of people here. We need to get some new blood in, but thank you very much. I'm very honoured, and hope England win tonight.
Thank you. Thanks, Simon. Right, I'm a little bit over time, but we've got one more award, and one really important award to give, and that's to Ian Rowlands, who will be receiving the Life Award to the of England Schools Rugby. And again, he's asked Robin Websdale to do his citation, so I'm hoping Robin is coming forward to say his piece.
Mike Redfern is doing it.
Oh, Mike is, sorry, I apologise.
It's down to me. After a playing career disrupted by serious injury, Ian continued his rugby life by refereeing whilst at university. Following graduation, he joined me in the geography department at Walton High School in Stafford. So I suppose you could say I taught him all he knew, but maybe not. From 1979 onwards, Ian became involved in coaching age group teams at Walton. The highlight of this period was coaching the school under-14s to victory in the Midlands State Schools Under-14s Cup. From 1985, he expanded his coaching to include age group teams at Stafford Rugby Club. Ian spent his whole teaching career at Walton, apart from a teacher exchange year spent in Winnipeg, Canada, where he introduced rugby to a senior high school and refereed at a local club. Upon his return, Ian became a member of the Staffordshire school setup as assistant coach and organiser to Mike Smart, looking after the county under-14s and 15s. In the days when teachers were seen to be sufficiently professional to manage, coach and organise county sides, Staffordshire schools were progressive enough to recognise the importance of a pathway for boys from under-14 through to under-18s and beyond. It was Ian's hard work from 1990 onwards that enabled Staffordshire boys to receive a firm foundation in all aspects of rugby, helping some of them to progress right through to international level. Ian continued managing and coaching county sides until responsibility was taken from schools in 2006-07. In addition to his under-14-15 commitments, Ian was team manager for the staff CB under-16 team in the first couple of national 10s competitions at Manchester in 2002 and Rugby School in 2003. As many of us who start off coaching county age group teams, Ian was drawn into the administrations of Staffordshire County Schools, initially as a rep for Walton School. In 2001-02, he took over the chairmanship of the schools from Dick Cooper, who retired to become a vice president of the ERFSU. In addition to handling the day-to-day issues of staff schools, Ian has put in many hours on ERFSU committees, including the Competitions Committee up to 2016, the Nominations Committee for 7 years, and for 4 years as one of the reps from the main committee to the Executive Committee. Ian has now served for 19 years as the staff's rep to the ERFSU and is now the longest serving non-officer member of the ERFSU. Ian's enduring legacy, however, remains with Staffordshire Schools. He acted as schools rep on the County Youth Task Group and continues to do so under its new guise as the County Youth and Education Committee. He also represented Staffordshire on the Midlands Youth Task Group and the Midlands Under 16s and 18 committees. Ian has had a long and distinguished career in schools rugby. He continues to give clear guidance to all schools and school teachers, whether they represent long-standing rugby schools or those newly recruited to the game. He has helped solve numerous problems related to cup competitions, eligibility, disputes, and numerous other issues that arise during a normal season. He has steered Staffordshire Schools through the difficult times that have occurred in recent years. His knowledge of the finer details of RFU and ERFSU policy has been a great help in keeping Staffordshire Schools at the forefront of schools rugby. And for this and his work at a national level, he is fully deserving of this award.
Thank you very much, Mike. Ian, do you want to say a few words?
Oh, I can only say thank you to all that. I certainly hadn't realised I'd done as much as that over the last 40 odd years. I just hope other rugby players have better luck with dislocated shoulders than I did. After doing it once, the doctors basically said, if you ever play rugby again, we can't take any responsibility for what happens to you. So I hope a certain Welsh second row either has got better doctors or modern science means that his shoulder can be rebuilt better than mine ever was. I was lucky enough to go on to the ERFSU main committee when everything was still based at Castlecroft. And I spent quite a lot of time at Castlecroft with Ron and Ray, working through various, or helping them with various competitions and things that they held there. I am not sure if I was to have started today, whether I would have gone on for so long, because most of those opportunities have now disappeared, unfortunately. Anyway, I know the time's getting on. The football will be due to start very soon. Therefore, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ian. Jeffrey, that concludes my part of the evening. That's all of the award holders done. Perhaps you'd like to finish with the closing comments, Jeff.
Well, thank you very much, David, for taking us through that. I mean, again, it's just an awe-inspiring list of achievements that I'm sure will make us all feel very humble. And just repeat congratulations to everyone on your thoroughly deserved recognition this evening. We look forward to some form of resumption of the game on a wider scale than we've been used to in recent months, and just hope that everybody can maintain their enthusiasm, take on board a number of the points that have been made this evening by the recipients in terms of ways of developing our thinking in getting the game more widely established as it once was. So thank you to everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the experience of receiving your awards, and congratulations to all. Thanks very much to all of you for all we've done.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark, is there anything else we need to do, or can we conclude the meeting?
Sorry, David, I had to unmute. that concludes the meeting. What I'll do is I will get a video prepared. I'm going to try and ask RFU to put it up on their YouTube link, and obviously David will notify the reward recipients appropriately as to how they can access the video. You might need to give me a couple of days to do it, but it will be available at some point in the near future.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I think we can officially call the meeting to an end, and enjoy the rest of your evening. I won't put it any more than that.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank
you
you
very much.
Cheers,
Bye.
everybody.
Take care.